Alex, thanks for making so much time to talk to me this afternoon. There's something else I wanted to ask you about. When we travel abroad, there's a massive inequality in the power relationship between us as a traveller and the people who are cleaning our rooms, serving us breakfast, serving us in the restaurant. And in a way, that power relationship is so skewed in our favour, with the employee being told simply whatever the guest wants, just smile, the guest is always right. Now, that happens between people of the same race, but there's an additional layer to that when the person confronting the rich American or British tourist who is shouting at the top of their voice in an African country demanding service. There's an extra layer then of racism, isn't there?
Absolutely.
How do you see that, and what can we do about it?
Yeah, I was actually working on an article recently where I was talking about the privilege that travelers have when they travel around the world, right? I don't think people realize that, but a lot of communities around the world specifically give privileges or rights to travelers who come into that destination that they wouldn't otherwise give to the local community. When you go to communities around the world, sometimes and often you're taking their natural resources that the local community absolutely need to survive. You are hiking up prices for water, for food, for gas, for things that these people who live there always need. And that's something you have to keep in your mind as a traveler. So if you're in a hotel and you're being rude to the people who are working there and to giving the services that you need, that's unacceptable. I do think that travel, in some aspects, in a lot of aspects, actually, is a result of colonization around the world, right? So when you're going to communities and you're traveling, there's this element of colonization that has lasted well beyond, European countries going around the world and settling in places that already had people there and already had their governments. And so when we're there, we're kind of playing it out sometimes as travelers and tourists. Number one, I think we should always be allies to the people who are working in the tourism industry, even if you yourself are a traveler. If I'm a traveler and I'm seeing somebody being racist or rude to a hotel employee or an airline flight attendant, I should speak up. I need to speak up because those people are providing a service that I myself am benefiting from. And it's my job as an ally, whether that is a person of color or not, to stand up and showcase that I appreciate that the work they're given, and they should not be treated as such. They should always be treated with respect and dignity. I really do believe that travelers and the tourism industry don't always understand how amazing and how necessary the people who do, the house cleaning at hotels or work as waitresses in the restaurant of the hotel or run tours are necessary for the whole tourism industry to run. And so we need to treat them as such. You would never go to a hotel that isn't cleaned and isn't ran and managed properly. And so those people are necessary for you to have this like idealistic travel experience. So we should always treat them with respect.
Do you think there's anything that we could do through the travel industry to try and generate more respect between the host and the guest?
Yeah, I think one of the things that I would like to see the tourism industry really do a little bit better on is working to drive tourists to spending money in the local economy and understanding how to connect with the local culture and the local people. I've been to five-star resorts in the Caribbean where you wouldn't even see the local community if you didn't go beyond the resort that is covering a mile of beach. That's unacceptable. And I've been there and I don't like it, and I always love to leave a resort or love to get out of a hotel and go and be in the community, do historical tours to learn about what this community has experienced, and do my research beforehand as well. But I think, working to showcase that travelers should spend their money in a way that goes to local economies directly. So whether that's staying in a B&B that's owned by a person who lives in that destination, who is from that destination, whose money can go to help other aspects of the economy. I think that's very important for the travel industry to showcase. I think tours that really facilitate conversations between travelers and the local people and honest and open dialogues is essentially important. And I hope that travelers are learning that you don't need to go overseas or to another destination abroad and be surrounded by the people that you live with all the time. You need to be surrounded by people that you don't live with, that you've never experienced. Yes, it's going to feel a little uncomfortable, but that's the beauty of actually traveling and connecting with local communities. I think that can help build an awareness of what the people in the community actually experience, and maybe could facilitate a little bit more respect and understanding of what the people who are working in the tourism industry goes through for you as the privileged traveler.
Alex, you must have heard the saying, the aphorism that travel broadens the mind. Do you think it's true?
I think it's a very simplistic way of seeing travel. If you're not looking to broaden your minds before you travel by doing the research on the destination and what their history and culture is like, if you're just going someplace to be around people who look like you in a hotel or a resort, if you're not going there to connect with the local culture, your mind's not going to be expanded very much. You have to mindfully want to expand your mind and to have new experiences that can change the way you see your own life and your own experiences. And then once you do that, you have to bring that back home. It can't just be something that you experience 1 week on vacation and come home and revert back to your unconscious biases, your perspectives. I think travel can broaden your mind, but if you're not looking to have it do that and you're not being aware of that, it's not going to happen.
So what do you think we can do about that in the travel industry?
Yeah, I think the travel industry might want to do a better job about educating people about a destination. So, when we're marketing in the tourism industry, we're showcasing this beautiful hotel, this amazing experience that you could have. We're not showcasing the people, we're not showcasing the history, we're not showcasing the local life all the time. I think there's a wonderful companies that are doing that. But if you're a chain hotel or you're that maybe there's certain tour companies that don't do it as well. Sometimes it's just showcasing that you could have the same hotel experience you have in America as you might have in Africa. And that should be the case because it's two totally separate countries with two totally separate cultures and experiences and lifestyles. I think the tourism industry would do well to localize experiences to showcase, you are in this country in the Middle East. This is how they live and this is how they experience life. You can have this travel experience too. And here are the people who will tell you about their history, tell you about their culture without somebody who is working in the tour company or the travel company from another country that's not that country telling you about it. So allowing people who live in those communities to have a voice, to be the leaders of their tourism industry versus people from other countries coming in and being the voice for their culture and their destination. I would like to see more locals having that opportunity to rise in the tourism industry within their destination.
Presumably that's one of the ways in which travel writers can really move the agenda on, isn't it? By drawing to the attention of the people reading their material that the world is a diverse place but to get the most from that, you need to prepare yourself to experience and understand that diversity.
Yeah, and I love telling stories about people on the ground in their own destinations doing cool things, opening up their tour company with, $500, or just trying to find funding for a hostel in this cool destination around the world. Whatever it may be, it's my job to showcase those people who are doing things that you wouldn't necessarily have found, maybe through a Google search. Maybe they don't know how to do a website or SEO. But if I can connect with those voices through my own travels, and I can connect with those people, then I can showcase their stories in the outlets, international outlets that I write for. And hopefully this can just kind of continue to be a path that we continue to showcase these stories in publications and media outlets. And then it just becomes a little bit more common, I would hope. Yeah.
Alex, let me just push you a bit harder then. If you are essentially a storyteller, which is what I think you are, and if you choose to tell stories which address the issue of racism, which you do, I'm not querying any of that with what I'm about to ask you. Why is it that we don't see stories about somebody who's risen from starting in the hotel by being the gardener, has ended up as a supervisor or maybe even a manager? Why don't we see stories about the women who have made it to the front desk in an Arab country? Why are those stories about the people we encounter not being told? And why are we therefore not encouraging the guests to actually engage on a more equal basis with the people that they meet in the hotel?
Yeah, I think there are some obstacles that I would like to be less of an obstacle for me as a travel writer. It's one, connecting with the right PR people who know about those stories and can connect me with those stories and those people. It's me being able to go out and research it well enough. And also, I think historically, we just haven't had a lot of people of color or women, rising in the ranks to succeed in the tourism industry. It's, women especially have done really well in the tourism industry and the travel industry, but there are still some glass ceilings we haven't been able to break through. Becoming the CEOs, becoming on the executive boards. It's really hard for people of color to move up in the tourism industry. That's why there's not that many people of color in the tourism industry. And LGBT people weren't always accepted in the industry as professionals to be out and open and living their lives, openly. So I think, one, we haven't seen those stories as much. We're seeing them now, and I want to tell those stories. I want people to reach out to me. I want people to connect with me on social media, on email. I have contact forms on my website, and I'm always looking for those stories. I'm hoping that the more that I write those stories, that people realize, oh, this is something she's looking for. This is somebody I can reach out to who could be an ally to me, who can share those stories. So it's really important, not just for me to write something that I want to write, but for magazines and outlets to allow me to share those stories, because it helps people see that magazine, that outlet is supportive of those diverse stories and those exciting features that we want to read. And then they can reach out to the writer who wrote it, or the editor who published it, or the outlet to share that information, and then we can get more of those stories out. Yeah, but if we've always, historically have not shared those stories, then people just don't think that anyone cares about that story. But I think we do. I think people are reaching out and wanting those, they want to read about the struggles and they want to read about the triumphs, and especially right now. So I'm hoping that I can continue to write these stories, and that people will connect with me about them.
Alex, thank you very much for that. And let's hope that other travel journalists and travel writers will follow in your footsteps.